So things continue to look worse and worse for Disney Snow White. I think it's at this point that Disney Snow White could be equivalent to movies as to what Assassin's Creed Shadows is in video games, where both of these IPs have so much backlash around it, so much controversy around it. I don't think there's any way that they can spin this positively in any manner that's going to be meaningful. And yet here we are, where Disney has now been forced to cancel the UK Snow White premiere amid backlash and fears of negative Rachel Zegler press. Imagine relying on Rachel Zegler to be the forefront of Snow White, only for her to ruin it all and destroy the image of the company once and for all. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Zegler, a person who, for all intents and purposes, really should not have been the lead of this movie, who clearly does not respect where this movie came from, the backstory of this movie, the history of this movie, what it did for Disney. Very clearly, she does not care, and she probably got too big for her own bridges because she basically thought she was the, hottest shit in Hollywood ever since she became the lead for Snow White. And yet here we are, and she's going to be the main reason as to why this film is most likely going to bomb. The headline reads, Disney cancels UK Snow White premiere amid backlash and fears of negative Rachel Zegler press and will limit her to tightly controlled press events. I think it's amazing that they are now going to keep her on a tight leash when they should have did that immediately the moment she did something stupid in the first interview. The moment she had that weird moment, they should have kept her ass on a tight leash. But no, they let her keep going and going and going. And they even let her keep going after they delayed the film in order to see if people could forget over a year as to what was happening. And people didn't forget. We didn't forget. Nobody forgot. The backlash is worse than ever. Disney's live-action Snow White is shaping up to be one of the studio's most troubled releases in recent memory. And now, a major red flag has appeared. The company has canceled its planned Snow White UK premiere, reportedly due to concerns over backlash and controversy. Instead of a star-studded event in London, Disney would hold a small number of tightly controlled press events, an unusual move for a film with a $200 million plus budget and massive marketing campaign. You know how much money they spent on this film? It is disgusting, okay? I know they're using, what they're starting to do now is they're starting to use the budget that the movie originally started with, and they're starting to spread that around as if that's the budget that the movie ended with. And nobody with a brain is going to fall for that, right? People realize that the budgets are absolutely inflated, especially for a movie that was delayed for a year. This movie was delayed for one entire year and had massive reshoots that were done with it and had CGI dwarves implemented into it after the fact. This movie costs way more than $200 million. And we're not even talking about the marketing that is going into this movie. And you already know the marketing is insane. I can't go on Twitter without seeing something about Snow White. I can't use my Hypnotic manga TikTok without something about Snow White. It is insane just how ridiculous Snow White is everywhere. And they're going to try to convince you that the budget's only $200 million? Yeah, sure it is. It says this decision suggests that Disney fully understands how negatively the film has been received and is now taking steps to limit the damage as much as possible ahead of its March 21st release. That's impossible. You're not going if you spent an entire year delaying this film and you haven't quelled the backlash by now, I think it's safe to say that nothing's going to happen, right? Nothing's going to change. You might as well just release the film and deal with the backlash as it comes, because if it was going to go away, it would have went away over the last year, but it didn't. It only got worse and worse and worse as the movie kept holding off until its release. So you might as well just release this thing and deal with it after the fact. According to sources, Disney is concerned about a backlash tied to the changes made to the film, as well as the public perception of lead actress Rachel Zegler. Instead of the usual high-profile Snow White UK premiere, which would have taken place in Leicester Square, the studio has scaled down media appearances, carefully selecting only a handful of press outlets to cover the film. This suggests Disney does not want to risk open-ended media interactions that could lead to more controversy. If Snow White were a highly anticipated blockbuster, Disney would be doing everything possible to build excitement. Instead, they are avoiding potential negative reactions from audiences, which implies they know the public sentiment isn't in their favor. Then, of course, there's the Rachel Zegler factor. Now, you want to talk about public sentiment. The simple truth is that public sentiment is not in your favor for two reasons, okay? Number one is the Rachel Zegler factor. Nobody likes Rachel Zegler. She's literally insufferable. She thinks she's the hottest shit in Hollywood, and she is absolutely ruining the image of this film, especially for the main character of this film, which is Snow White. That's number one. Number two, you guys ruin your image. Disney ruined their image a long time ago, many, many, many years ago, and they are here now trying to pretend as if their image is being destroyed by one girl. Oh, no, 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 no. Rachel Zegler absolutely does not help your case and 100% does ruin your image. But let's be real, Disney as a company has had its own image ruined by all of the nonsense they've been doing over the last 5, 6, 7 years it is by now. They are the ones who decided to tank their image. They are the ones who have decided to abandon the familial unit. They are the ones that said, you know what, families, we don't really want you. We want the wokies. We want the people that don't have families because they're too busy fucking each other in the ass. We want them. We don't want you. Yeah, fuck the families. Who cares about them? That is what you did, and you decided to go down that route. So it's not Rachel Zegler's fault that the company has a bad, community sentiment. It is your fault, Disney. Now, don't get it twisted. Rachel Zegler absolutely is a factor in this, but she's just additive to already what people think about you as a company. It's not like they think you're the most amazing thing, and then all of a sudden there's Rachel Zegler and she's ruining it. People hate you as a company, and she's just adding to the hate at this point. Zegler has been widely criticized for her comments dismissing the 1937 classic, referring to it as dated, and describing the prince as a guy who literally stalks her. She has also expressed open disapproval of the film's original themes, particularly the romance, of course, saying that her version of Snow White isn't dreaming about true love, but is instead focused on leadership. Yeah, because her version of Snow White is probably trying to scissor Gal Gadot. That's most likely it. Like, she's not focusing on the prince or true love or building a family unit. She's not focused on any of that. She's focused on being an insufferable fucking girl boss that nobody wants to be around once she passes her prime. That's exactly what this kind of Rachel Zegler Snow White's going to be. These remarks have alienated longtime Disney fans, and rather than helping market the film, Zegler has become a liability. The fact that Disney is reportedly minimizing her press appearances strongly suggests the studio doesn't trust her to handle interviews without further damaging the film's reputation. Another sign of trouble for Snow White is the latest development of the box office projections for the film continuing to decline. The movie was initially expected to open with $63 to $70 million domestically, a disappointing figure for a film of this scale. However, now updated projections have dropped it even lower to just $53 million, with the low-end estimate sitting at $48 million. Considering its budget is rumored to exceed $300 million due to extensive reshoots, Snow White would need to gross at least $600 to $700 million globally just to break even, an increasingly unlikely outcome. This movie's fucked, bro. This movie's absolutely cooked. Anybody looking at Snow White and thinking this is going to be a massive success, you have about a 5% chance of being correct, okay? I'm not going to say it's a 0% because literally anything can happen. For all we know, international audiences can carry this film like they usually do with Disney films. But at the end of the day, man, I just don't see people going out there wanting to see Rachel Zegler's version of Snow White. I think this is the worst version of Snow White we're ever going to get in history so far. And I would think it's safe to say that it's going to bomb drastically because of it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.